Hi everyone, it's Jess from EVPL McCullough, and I'm here with another Foraging for Your Home project. This month's project is Pressed Flowers Initial Art, and what I've done here is I've gone out and I've collected some flowers. I've dried them and pressed them between heavy books, and now I'm going to take them and paste them onto a wrapped canvas to make some pretty art. So all you need for this project is a canvas. This is a wrapped canvas. You can use a canvas board as well. You may even be able to use just thick paper, just any sort of surface that you can use Mod Podge on to paste your flowers to the surface. The only other things you will need is Mod Podge. That's what I decided to use. Some paintbrushes, scissors, a pencil, and you're going to want to select a letter or a couple letters, whatever you'd like to do. You could do a monogram, you could just do one letter. I've decided to go with an M for McCullough. So what I did is I found an M in the font and style I wanted and printed it out and cut it out. So I'm going to use that as a stencil here. So what we're going to do is we're going to stencil the letter onto the canvas and then just fill in that section with pressed flowers. So I'll zoom in here and let you see what it looks like, and yeah, let's get started. So here's a close-up of my canvas board. I've cut out my M, and what I'm going to do is I'm just going to trace it with a pencil. I'm going to try and trace it as lightly as possible, that way it's not so noticeable if you don't cover up the lines with the flowers. So I'm going to turn this around so I can see better. And I'm going to go ahead. I am going to kind of make mine a little slanted in the middle just because I like that look. So it doesn't have to be centered, doesn't have to be anything specific, just whatever you like. So I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to trace really gently. The cutout. And again, it doesn't have to be perfect because you're really just using it as a template to place your flowers in the correct position so it doesn't come out looking like a different letter. So we want it to look like an M, so that's why I'm tracing an M really lightly. I really like the cursive look just because it's a little bit more delicate. Feel free to use whatever font you want. You can use a big, fun, thick, chunky font. Really, that's your call. But I would recommend getting a template on your canvas just so you have the appropriate space to work with. We are almost done with this part. And again, it's not perfect, but it's gonna work. Okay, and we've got our M. You can kind of see it there, very lightly. So now what we're gonna do is you wanna take a paintbrush, dip it in your Mod Podge, and just go section by section. So I'm gonna go ahead and I'm just gonna start up here because it's a pretty thick section. And I'm just gonna coat it pretty generously with the Mod Podge so we can make sure we can get these flowers to stick. What's nice about the Mod Podge is that it dries clear. So if you don't paint completely in your template here, you're really gonna have a hard time noticing. So since I went with a bigger section, I'm just going to use some of these bigger flower petals and fill in that section just because I know I'm going to run into some space issues. So what I've done here is I've just kind of just pasted a petal up in this corner. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to keep doing that throughout the entire space. So I'll show you a few petals and then I'll check back and let you see the finished product. A little bit about where I got these flowers. Surprisingly enough, some of them are honestly just, I guess for lack of a better term, weeds. They're not exactly like garden flowers. You can find them anywhere in a park, like the little wild weeds that kind of grow all over the place. That's where I found a lot of these. I just walked through the park, and in the grass is where you'll just find a bunch of random like little purple and yellow flowers, little white flowers. They're all over the place. You just have to kind of take the time to look. So if you can't get some of these delicate flowers, they're kind of hard to just get down on the board right away. So what I do is I try and hold them down and then just cover it with a little layer of Mod Podge, just to kind of give it that extra chance of sticking to the canvas. And when we're done filling in all the space, we're going to go over the whole letter again with Mod Podge just to secure it and make sure it stays for a long time. So like I said, I got most of these flowers from like the park or just like little green spaces around my home. I did not pull them from anyone's gardens or anything like that. These are just naturally grown flowers that you'll find like on curbsides and street corners, and nothing that was carefully grown. These little leaves are peony leaves, which is the state flower of Indiana. So I was actually gifted those from a friend. So some of these, I mean, if you have a bouquet of flowers at home and it's getting ready to kind of droop and get dreary, you can always just save some of those petals for a project like this. Whatever you want to do. I really enjoyed taking my dog to the park and looking for some flowers that I could use for this project. Again, I'm kind of coating over this rose petal just to kind of force it to go in the shape that I want. So I'm going to go ahead and keep working on this, and then I'll tune back in when I'm done. Here we are. I am almost done here. I am just filling in the last couple sections. When you get to this point, it's going to look like a little bit of a hot mess, but once it dries, it is going to be so cool. I promise. So what I'm doing now is I'm just kind of grabbing some like random grasses and leaves that I also foraged to just kind of fill in those really pretty simple spaces. So look, like this is just like a pretty little piece of grass. And I am just kind of coating. Like I said, you're gonna have a lot of a pretty big mess, but once it dries, it's gonna be great. So there's a little bit of a blank spot here. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to kind of toss this pretty grass in here. And you just want to kind of dab it just to get it saturated in that Mod Podge so it will stick and stay for a while. I didn't cut this short enough, so I'm going to go ahead and make a little So I still have some little white spaces. I just have these beautiful little delicate flowers, so I'm just gonna fill them in. And once you've got everything in place, what I would recommend is just going over the entire thing with another layer of the sealant, just because that'll just give it a little bit more structure and a little bit, it'll just be a little bit morely secure to the canvas. So that's what I'm doing now. I'm just going over everything. This Mod Podge is going to dry clear, so it'll be nice and beautiful when it's done. So I encourage you to get outside, look closely at the grass and at the little weeds that are growing up on the sidewalks, and see if you can't find some beauty in them. Maybe create some art and hang this beautiful piece in your home. Almost done with the last layer. And because this is canvas, you can kind of make it your own even further after you're done. So if you wanted to paint around it, go for it. It's your piece to make your own. Okay, so here we go. Now it's just drying, and it's gonna be great. Thank you.